What's up, all my movie-loving maniacs? This your boy Bankful B of the Lassiter Factor, and this is the weekly movie rundown of everything I watched during the last week of August. And this week I watched two documentaries: Fallen Idols, it's about Nick and Aaron Carter, the Gary Coleman documentary on Peacock, and I finally got around to watching Immaculate and Longlegs. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, you may or may not like what I have to say about one of these four things that I'm about to talk about, but what is it? You'll just have to wait at the end of the video. Now, I remember when Immaculate, why I keep messing up on the name, Immaculate. Anyways, I remember when this came out and saw that it had Sydney Sweeney in it. I'm like, that's pretty interesting. I'm seeing her in this kind of role. But then again, if you saw season 2 of Euphoria, you know what she's capable of as an actress. She's more than just a pretty face. She's more than just eye candy. Like, she can be a good actress if you put her in the right role. But otherwise, I'm very spotty when it comes to horror movies. So that's why this movie kind of flew under my radar. But I finally watched it, and I was very impressed with this movie. Not only I was very impressed with the concept of the movie, but I was very impressed with Sydney Sweeney's performance in this movie, particularly at the very end. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I do like how this movie kind of connects to religion and all the religious undertones and the twist in this movie. I was a little shooken by it. I'm like, that's horrific, but also very interesting. I'm not going to spoil it if you've not seen it, but if you've seen the movie and you know the twist that I'm talking about. But Sydney Sweeney definitely made this movie for me, and the ending definitely stuck with me. I'm not too over the moon about it. I don't see myself watching this movie again, but otherwise, you won't leave disappointed. You won't leave disappointed leaving this movie, and that's why I gave Immaculate the thumbs up emoji. Fallen Idols, Nick and Aaron Carter. Now let me give you some context to my history with both of these men as artists. Obviously, everybody knows the Backstreet Boys. Everybody knows Nick Carter's a part of it. But for me, as a child of the 90s and early 2000s, I did listen to Aaron Carter's album, Aaron's Party Come Get It. We all know it, but How I Be Shaq, that will forever be a guilty pleasure of mine. But outside of the music, we all know about their very toxic family, and we've seen the very toxic relationship between the two of them. But what I didn't know, and honest to God, I really didn't know that Nick Carter was under sexual allegations. Like, one of the ladies that is a victim of Aaron Carter, I mean, not Aaron Carter, I'm sorry, of Nick Carter, is Melissa Schumann, who I didn't realize that was the white girl from the movie Love Don't Cost a Thing with Nick Cannon and Christina Milian. And I just rewatched that movie last December, so that's mind blowing. But I didn't know that she was part of a girl group called Dream, which I vividly remember. I vividly remember that music video, Loves You Not. But I'm detracting a little bit. But anyways, Nick Carter, he's under a lot of trouble right now, and whether or not it's all true or not, that's still up in the air, but given the amount of women that come out against him, it's very alarming. But I also like how this show kind of goes into the complexities of their family and how toxic it is, and that both of these men, they just didn't have a fair shake since birth. And Aaron Carter, he was basically his parents always leaned on him since Nick branched off away, and now Aaron Carter, he always felt like he just had the world on his shoulder to please everybody. And we see how that dealt with him mentally and to the point where he became an addict. I also like how this documentary went into like how troll culture can really affect a person's mindset. And the dangerous of fandom, because there is a lot of women, well, they went through a lot of Backstreet Boys fans in here, and they choose to stand with Nick, all because they don't want to give up their love and fandom of the Backstreet Boys, which can be very dangerous. Overall, I really enjoyed this documentary, but given the subject matter, I wish nothing but healing to all the victims. And whatever the situation may be, I just hope justice is definitely served in the right way in the end. And rest in peace to basically everybody in the Carter family, because Nick Carter and the youngest Carter sibling are the only two living members of the Carter family. So, yeah, but I gave Fallen Idols the thumbs up emoji. Next is Gary, which is about Gary Coleman. We all know him from the show Different Strokes. Very legendary sitcom from back in the day. But this documentary goes into the man behind the little kid from that show. But of course, if you followed his history, you know he went through a lot. I mean, he had to break away from his parents because his parents they were his managers, and they were basically taking all his money. He was left with almost no money. Of course, he had tremendous health issues, and he had trouble getting work after Different Strokes. but we see how all that impacted him mentally, physically, and even through all his relationships. And it's sad because he really is one of, if not the greatest child star of all time. It showed like how he excelled on the show and how the show impacted people. But of course, fame at a young age can have a big effect on someone's life. And Gary Coleman, at times, he felt like he couldn't trust anybody. But overall, I thought this was a great documentary. I thought it chronicled Gary Coleman's life perfectly and is also a celebration on his impact within the entertainment industry. And that's why I give Gary the thumbs up emoji. And finally, Longlegs, which I gave the shoulder shrug emoji to, which might upset some people, or some of you may understand where I'm coming from, but hear me out. Now, of course, prior to me watching this movie had a lot of buzz around it. People were raving, talking about like it's one of the best movies of the year, or it's the scariest movie of the year. And let me just say up front, I do admire the filmmaking within this movie. I do admire the vibe. And slow burns, they could be a drag sometimes, but I felt like it was a good little slow burn. At times. And I was going along with the movie up until a point. But I just felt like the vibe of the movie just kind of brought the movie down at times, and it kind of got hard to really stick with the story. And then, especially once we saw Nick Cage in the movie, I just felt like the movie just kind of switched up tones for a little bit, because obviously Nick Cage is just being his usual Nick Cage self. And honestly, I felt like this movie just would have benefited if they got someone that wasn't Nick Cage in this movie, because otherwise, just seeing the quote unquote long legs in the movie, that just kind of, and seeing that it's Nick Cage, it kind of took me out of the movie a bit. And as for the twist in the movie as to why everything is going on, I was like, that was intriguing, but everything else leading up to it, I just couldn't really get with it. Maybe I need to watch it more than once to really truly appreciate it, but overall, I just feel like this movie is kind of overrated. There are things in this movie I admire, but at the same time, there's things in this movie that I don't really admire. And that's why I gave Longlegs the shoulder shrug emoji. And that's my weekly rundown of everything I watched throughout the week. Still be on the lookout for my review of LA's Finest, and I recently revisited The Lion King 2, so be on the lookout for that. This is your boy Bankful B. Stay safe, wash your hands, peace.